This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. Even recently, I've covered The Economist and the magazine covers that they use with predictive programming, etc., etc. We've seen it over the years with The Economist. And I have to cover this story about doomsday, about how to get ready for the end of the world, because Britain's latest risk register anticipates the apocalypse in detail. And we know how these people work, right? When they tell us these things, usually shortly thereafter, we see something very, very similar. So what they've done is they've put together this thing where the British government's risk register tells us potential threats that could lead to doomsday. Now, we can all probably figure these out on our own, but it's interesting to see what they actually think the biggest risk is to humanity right now. Now, I would say above all those things that are out there, possibly the biggest risk is the mainstream media, of course. They're the ones who are really hurting humanity into the end of the world. They're hurting humanity into enslavement. And of course, these people should all be held accountable for what they're doing. And really, it'd be like the movie They Live if we actually just blew up the satellites and got rid of all television and all media whatsoever, then the world would be a much better place. But unfortunately, we can't do that because too many people depend on the media. And of course, too many people form their own thoughts and opinions based on the propaganda machine, as well as their social influencers that they like to worship. So with all this stuff going on in Israel, with all the stuff going on around the world that we've seen over the last couple of years, still nobody's suspicious about how all this stuff, like the game of Risk, is all coordinated, all done by design, and they are rushing as much as they possibly can to get this in by 2030. And that's why you see so many things going on at once, but people are too dumb to realize that there's a lot of things going on at once. This is not normal. So the article starts by saying terror attacks score a number 3 on their transport score. The delicately euphemistic nuclear miscalculation beats with that a stronger impact score of 4. So what they do is they rank this by scores of 3, 4, and 5, 5 being pretty much the most high, the most likely next event that's going to occur. And of course, they would know what the next event would be that would occur since, they're the ones who are creating this and working with the governments. So by contrast, the accidental release of a hazardous pathogen or an assassination of a high-profile public figure feel barely worth bothering, each scoring a paltry 2. The highest scoring potential threat for the end times, for the beginning of the end of the world, would be, get it, ready, drumroll, another pandemic with a splendidly robust 5. Admittedly, civil nuclear accident also scores a 5. So those are the two ones that they're looking at here, which, of course, if you think about this, civil nuclear accident, it seems like that's what they just do these days. They just go, oops, it's an accident. Oops, we blew up a hospital. It's an accident. Oops, we blew up a school. It's an accident. Oops, we're killing all the civilians. It's an accident. And these idiots out there actually believe it. So they're saying between a nuclear accident, which of course would just be them blowing up their own civilians, and here in America specifically, it would definitely be our own government blowing up cities, etc. And then they'll just say it was a nuclear accident, probably by Russia. And of course, the other thing would be the next outbreak, because remember, the outbreak's never going away. Nobody's suspicious about it. So the potential of another outbreak could threaten up to 840,000 deaths. So, according to this risk calculator that they have, that would be the ultimate winner here, would be a potential of another pandemic. To read the British government's risk register is like sifting through a game of apocalyptic top trumps. It lists the many varied and sometimes splattery ways in which Britons might get wiped out, then assigns scores to them. As with top trumps, some entries are more eye-catching than others. Few will suffer sleepless nights over a major outbreak of African horse sickness unless you keep mules, in which case be worried. Others are less ignorable. For example, you could read the entry for pandemic with its talk of tests, waves, and hospitalizations without a dull sense of dread. The apocalypse, once entertainingly abstract, feels considerably less remote than it once did. I wonder why that is. Because I wonder who's starting all these things. So all of a sudden in the history of the world, we're just having outbreaks like this occur, right? Even though they told us in movies over and over that they would have these things, and then nobody sees the whole point of it with how people are locked in their homes and forced to use things like, contact tracing, excuse me, algorithm, and all sorts of other things that, came from it, like telling you that you had to take a certain something if you wanted to be able to, have a job or be able to go to the grocery store in some places. So, yeah, maybe it's more considerably likely these days because the people responsible for The Economist and responsible for all the media out there are the ones who are pushing towards our demise. So Britain's risk registers were first published in 2008. And one of the things that's funny too is they had another article a few months ago about the chances of an AI apocalypse. And they reckon that there's a 20% chance of a catastrophic event by 2100 and a 6% chance of human extinction. So that's a plus too, right? The fact that they're even like talking about this stuff and allowed to talk about this stuff. I mean, could we just start arresting these people? I mean, what more do we really need? I mean, are we going to wait for the next wave before these people start getting arrested? So since 2008, when they felt less like an essential tool than an eccentric bureaucratic hobby, since then, Russia's invaded Ukraine. AI has threatened to develop godlike intelligence with Old Testament consequences, and the pandemic has killed 25 million people worldwide. Toby Ord, a philosopher at Oxford, puts the odds of humanity suffering some sort of existential catastrophe within the next century at about 1 in 6. The end is not yet near, feels rather nigher than before, which means planning for it matters. Britain's risk register is widely considered to be good, not perfect, but not bad. It is more detailed, more precise, and less secretive than before. It has flaws. Its methodology is still too opaque. Its production a little too cloak and dagger. Worse, slow-moving cataclysms aren't on it. And it isn't clear who is responsible for dealing with each risk. How about I'll make it clear who's responsible for creating all these risks. The globalists, the ones that we continue to allow to have authority over our lives, like the WHO. And, sorry, can't question them on here. Not the WHO, the people who have our best interest in mind, our health in mind, right? Yet they dump chemicals on us every day from the sky, and nobody out there asks questions. Or, when they look at the ingredient label on a box of Cheerios, nobody wonders why it's all words you can't pronounce, because they're all dangerous chemicals. But they need those. It's essential to their plan to have those chemicals in the food because, they need it to dumb down humanity and make people sick, right? How often do we hear about Breast Cancer Awareness Month or Cancer Awareness Month? Is anybody at some point going to stand up and go, hey, you know what? I'm aware of cancer. You know what these people aren't aware of? They're not aware of where it comes from. But they should be aware because there wouldn't be cancer if they weren't spraying us with soft metals day and night or putting it in our food. That's a little history lesson for the kids out there. So if you're wondering where it came from and you wonder why they continue to have months where they go, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Let's virtue signal and let's feel good about ourselves and go for a walk somewhere and wear a shirt that says Breast Cancer Awareness and do nothing about it. When if you were wondering why your grandma, your mom, your uncle, whoever, well, if you're wondering who's responsible for it, it's your own government. It's the FDA, the CDC, all these great organizations that care about all of our health. I got to be careful what I say, because the truth is very hard to deal with for people. And when you start waking up, the algorithm gets very angry. So it likes to suppress that type of information. So this says, which means planning for the end of the world matters. Britain's risk register is widely considered to be good, not perfect, like I said earlier. Each risk receives 2 scores for likelihood and impact. The latter runs from 1, minor, to 5, catastrophic. These are then plotted on a matrix, but that catastrophic category is logarithmic. So with a single square are threats that might cause 1,000 deaths and ones that might cause 100,000. This looks 4 square and tidy on the page, but it is a problem, thinks Martin Rees, the co-founder of the Center for the Study of Essential Risk at Cambridge, the author of If Science is to Save Us. To reflect mega disasters, fairly the doom-o-meter ought to have some extra grade. So let's just put this in perspective with all these scientists who are telling us these things and blah, 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 blah. None of these things would be occurring. There'd be no mega storms. There wouldn't be mega hurricanes, earthquakes. These are all things that they're creating and doing to all of us. And like I said earlier, how much longer are we going to let them get away with it? Is my mic on? We're really going to continue to let them get away with this? It's getting a little ridiculous, right? It could really easily be stopped. We literally have psychopaths here who are dictating our lives, and then they openly write articles like this telling us how they're going to kill us. Anybody reading this thinking that? Or people just reading this going, oh, interesting. Oh, it could be another outbreak. It could be World War III. Instead of going, all right, why are they openly like telling us how they're going to kill us and how we're all going to die? Right? Instead of maybe like doing something about it. Don't we have like all these groups, or supposedly like NATO and the UN, that are supposed to stop world catastrophes? Specifically like World War III. Isn't that supposed to be prevented by these groups that are supposed to be like world peace organizations? Right? Doesn't seem like they're trying to stop much of anything. Now, of course, in the service, they pretend they are. They're like, we want everyone, we want ceasefire, right? We want this, we want that. So what is the point of your organization then if you can't step in and stop the war? Oh, right. Your point of your organization is to create the wars and the conflict. So then you could be in charge of all of us without ever being elected. I got it. Ding, ding, ding. So the article goes on to say there's other quirks. The advice the register offers to individuals feeling faintly feeble, at times almost eccentric. For a marauding terror attack, it refers to advice that tells people to run, then hide, which, though sensible, is not wholly comforting. It also suggests that to prepare for disaster, people might like to stash wind-up radios and bottled water at home, or join a community group or social club that is active in emergency preparedness. What those who don't have a local nuclear fallout club should do for fun is not clear. To understand what governments can do when they really want to, go to Brentwood in Essex. Go past the golf courses and the garden centers, and at the foot of a hill, it's a boring-looking bungalow. Step inside, and it's surprisingly cool. Its walls are thick. Its windows blocked off by steel shutters. Go down the steps, and cold air creeps around your ankles. You are standing at the start of a 100-odd meter tunnel leading to the British government's nuclear bunker. You're standing at the foot of what taking risks really seriously looks like, right? So these bunkers like that, how about we throw all the government officials out of these bunkers, right? Because why do they deserve to have the bunkers if they're the ones responsible for all this stuff, right? They're the ones supposed to be preventing it. Is anyone suspicious yet? I mean, those are the ones that are supposed to be like figuring out if our tax money goes to like building roads and things like that, right? They have all these bunkers built because they're really important, right? Maybe we should throw them out of these locations, and these should be for civilians. Maybe if people don't fund this operation with their tax money, maybe these people could be stopped. Or maybe if people start waking up, we can just round them all up and arrest them. So the article goes on to talk about the Kelvedon Hatch underground bunker built in 1952 to house politicians and civil servants in the event of a nuclear attack. Today it's eerie. The corridors smell of floor polish and the past. Okay, they go on to say it's an example of doing risk very well indeed. It's also an example of why governments don't bother with most risk. The bunker is extraordinary, but it's also useless, never needed. It was decommissioned in 1994. Now it is a museum. That's because they have nicer ones. Now they have nicer ones. And more importantly, they have new ones because they don't want you to know where they are. That's why. So any of the ones that were built for like World War II, any doomsday bunkers, they're all abandoned or sold or etc. because these people don't want you to know where they're hiding because they think that you're probably going to figure out they're responsible and then want to kill them if you survive the coming man-created apocalypse, right? Which, of course, you might say that sounds crazy, but if we all come out on the other side of this, I mean, we all have plans, right, to find them in their underground bunkers? I would hope so. I certainly would hope that that's on your to-do list because, I mean, we really going to let them get away with it? I don't know. I mean, call me crazy, but the fact that these people plan on hiding and think they're going to get away with it, well, they don't really, I guess they underestimate people like me and you, where we do have a lot of maps of locations where they do have these underground tunnels. Now, we don't know who specifically is going to be where, right? We know that they have their underground bunkers in a lot of, like the Ozarks, their underground cities, Emerald City, right? Under the Denver airport. Pretty much the entire country, though, every country has a whole underground world, right? They're quietly revealing that to us over in Lady Gaza, like telling us about these tunnels. Like, oh, they got these tunnels. Who do you think built the tunnels? The same people who claim to be at war with them built the tunnels for them. Where they get all the money to build it? Everyone was just fine with them building tunnels underneath all. Oh, yeah, okay. Right. If we learn where their tunnels are, if we learn and realize what their plan is, then maybe it could be stopped. But it seems like more people don't want to stop it. They're more interested in trying to figure out, hey, what's the risk factor of this doomsday occurring? Hey, maybe they'll kill us that way. Yeah, it sounds really great. Let's just, write articles in mainstream media outlets about how the government's going to kill us And we're supposed to just smile, nod, and say, cool, great article. Let's give them a Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, unbelievable, folks. So they're telling us the next one, whatever, they're telling us the biggest threat is still an outbreak. And we all know that that's not going away because, again, it's essential that they continue to get certain things inside of you. So they need the outbreaks for that. And of course, we see that there's literally psychopaths who aren't even human at this point who continue to believe this propaganda, who continue to support all this stuff that the government is doing to us. So yeah, there's that. I thank everybody for being here. I just wanted to cover this article. I thought it was hilarious when I saw it from The Economist. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Please make sure you sub to my backup channels if you haven't yet. I'd hope to see more people over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. Thanks again, everybody. God bless all of you as always and your families.